When a fighting game is first launched, there are many times where a character is found to be very strong immediately upon release. Usually, they'll be put in line with the rest of the cast through balance patches, while others could stay strong throughout the game's lifespan, due to the devs either not paying much attention to them, or favoring them in terms of buffs and nerfs. There is, however, an extremely fringe case where an absurdly strong character falls to complete irrelevance. A popular example of this is Nier from Grand Blue vs. R after her reign of terror during Season 1, but I have another story to tell. One of a Grim Reaper who went from the wheat to the chaff in just a few simple patches. Let's talk about BBTAG Gordeau.
You ran out of luck.
Gordeau was one of the 20 characters featured in the launch roster for BBTAG. Hailing from Under Night in Birth, he was a solid all-arounder in that franchise that could transition between zoning and grappling seamlessly, giving him a unique role to fulfill in cross-tag. In cross-tag, he takes more into his zoning role, with less good up-close buttons, but his longer-range buttons being way better due to longer range, the screen size of BBTAG, and their ability to cover jumps really well. His solo buttons are pretty alright, with 5B, 2B, and Reapers being absolutely ginormous, as well as Ascend being good for mix, and Supers being good reversals, but Gordeau's A buttons, Air buttons, and C buttons leave a decent amount to be desired. DP was also horribly slow, small, and punishable. The most notable of the buttons mentioned is 2A. It starts up really fast and recovers at a good speed too, allowing for him to rebeat after 5B for excellent frame advantage. For context, rebeating is short for reverse beating. We can go into weaker buttons from stronger buttons, which is incredibly important for all of the Under Night characters in cross-tag. Back to Gordeau, while his buttons at the point position aren't amazing, his assists and specials out of Active Switch are what really set him apart and give him his true identity. An amazing team player. Gordeau in BBTAG has 3 really good assists. 5P is his .236A, a massive forward-moving assist that is insanely active and covers a huge amount of the screen. Seriously, I could never do the launch version of this assist justice with how absurdly fucking big it is. 6P is his Rusty Nails as an assist. This button has really good range and block stun while also keeping the properties of his X's, allowing him to gradually steal resources from the opponent during neutral while he stays relatively safe. 4P is aim opening. It's pretty fast and gives a nice hard knockdown for combo extensions, but it's his only really subpar assist. Even still, it served a valuable role in Gordeau's kit. What really set Gordeau apart were 2 mechanics, one of which was exclusive to BBTAG 1.0 to 1.5. Active Switch and the Active Switch cross combo tech. This team was absolutely oppressive, especially when piloted by top-level players, and a lot of that was thanks to the amazing synergy that the 2 characters had. Gordeau was an absolutely dangerous character to active switch into and out of, and this support value was vital to creating his identity as an amazing team player. He is the facilitator for Ruby to enable her strong mix and damage. He can provide free neutral win buttons in 236B and 236C into active switch, which are also great in pressure sequences. Within sandwich sequences, he forces you to guess between left, right, and command throw, as Gordeau's 214C or 214A could be active switch during their startup to allow Ruby to confirm into great damage and OP. It cannot be understated how good it was to active switch off of Gordeau, with how active and absolutely gigantic B Reaper really was, covering full jump height and the entire screen while being insanely active and damaging. Not only were his active switches really good, they are made even better with one simple trick. Watch this sequence. See that? That giant ass special that did 1,000,000 damage and covered the entire screen? That fucker was fully invincible throughout that entire move. KO Efficient has a really good video on the tech that I'll link in the description, but if you active switch upon the first frame of performing a special move, that special move becomes completely invincible. This made Gordeau turn into an unstoppable Beyblade that once again covered the entire screen while doing fuck tons of damage and allowing for easy follow-ups and left-rights given its active frames. This alone won neutral in basically every situation because there was no viable way to contest it. If you wanted to hit Gord for doing it, you can't. He just ignores everything, you and your assist included. If you want to hit the point character to cut the cross combo short, you can't, because Gordeau is hitting the entire screen with his fully invincible special move. Just having this tool in his back pocket made Gordeau absolutely terrifying to go up against in neutral, even when he was at the anchor position. Finally, even if you managed to knock out the point on Gordeau's team, he was still an excellent character by himself, with a decent 2-way to mash out, still keeping the great neutral threat of Reaper even if it was more risky, and the absolute size of 5B, 2U6X, and 2B made getting it on him a nightmare, and allowing him to facilitate a slow-paced, annoying style of play where you were never really making any distance on him. All of this nonsense with how insane his active switch pressure was, how big his normals and support value really were, on top of him being relatively solid as a character, pushed him into the upper echelon of the game's tier list, with many putting him as high and even top tier due to everything he brought to the table. So naturally, Arxis took notice. They rounded up all the game's high tiers, gave him some small changes and some nice compensation buffs, then they took Gord out back.
Gordeau!
Getting interesting. Give me some time to think.
Bye, friend!
And fucking shut him. BBTAG 1.5 is when Gordeau suddenly got hit by an entire laundry list of nerfs to basically everything he had that made him powerful. Let's start from the beginning and work our way down. 5A got less frame advantage. This button already wasn't fantastic at -5, now it made sure it lost to every 4A in the game. Not a super significant change, but definitely one that could be felt, as he was losing yet another button that was mostly safe on block. 5B lost a bunch of its height, now having an absolutely horrific dead zone at the top of the move, and along with the decreased active frames made it so that most characters could occupy this strange middle ground of space where it was incredibly hard for him to hit them. 5BB also got decreased frame advantage, which meant that 5BB into 2A rebeat was now way less safe. 2A got gutted, getting an additional frame of startup as well as going from -6 to -9 on block. -9! This makes it punishable on block and on whiff a majority of the time by almost every single character's 5A, opening up to insanely fat damage should he not be able to confirm into 5AA to get a safe on block normal out. 2B got less frame advantage and lower launch height, as well as higher proration on the second hit, although he was able to get new routes with a decreased launch height, so there's a bonus. Every Grim Reaper also lost a bunch of utility, decreased damage and knockback distance across the board, as well as suffering from the same horrific dead zone that plagued 5B. The hitboxes make it look like they should totally be hitting, but the devs literally programmed the move to not hit people above a specific height, which was a really strange and roundabout way of nerfing the move that makes them look better than they actually are. This made Gord into a committal nightmare. Yes, he still has the same good assist and support value with 5P, Reapers, and 6P, but now instead of a decently solid character, you're stuck with a guy that can't get anything done because his solo tools are absolutely atrocious. The compensation buffs didn't particularly help him either, because they did nothing to patch up the fact that everything this character did became so much more committal. Gord's buttons were always death on whiff, but the fact that the moves had less range as well as lower frame advantage on block meant he was more liable to getting blown the fuck up for even landing them on block without an assist to cover his ass. And the final nail in the coffin for Gordeau was the removal of the active switch cross combo tech, making his B and C Reaper vulnerable even if you performed the tech correctly. This greatly affected a lot of the utility it had in sandwiches and in neutral, as it could now be supered and DP'd through. It was still incredibly versatile, don't get me wrong, especially if you played patiently behind it, but a lot of its former threat was now lost due to the fact that you could hit him out of it. To sum it up, Gordeau lost basically all of his solo versatility, now completely relying on his partner to not get blown up for having some of his moves get blocked or whiff, and his support value was also directly affected by the Grim Reaper and 5P nerfs, as well as the removal of the active switch cross combo tech. This character had become a shell of his former self, and while still enabling good neutral and wacky shenanigans in sandwich scenarios with his assists, was now way severely limited in his solo play, and could never reach his same true potential. Another case going against Gord was power creep. BBTAG had a lot of DLC that launched with it. and a lot of characters that had very similar active switch shenanigans that Gord did, while not only improving upon them, but also were fully functional characters in their own right. Adachi was not only debatably top 3, but had similarly good assists as well as his own neutral dominant active switch in BZO, which was aided by the fact that it was a beam rather than just a guy twirling around with a hurt box. Yumi was another great character that offered good assists in 6P and active switching her projectiles for insane coverage. Seth had insanely impressive neutral in both his own kit as well as his assists with Orb and Lariats. Carmine had his wheels off of active switch and assist. These characters were all incredibly good at utilizing the game's partner system, while also functioning extremely well in their own right as solo characters or at the point position, something Gordeau was just not capable of doing in this version of the game. Once 1.5 came out, you could already see the intense decline of usage coming in, and once 2.0 came out and added characters like Adachi, Suzuno, Yumi, and Akatsuki, the dream was dead. Gordeau was frequently based in the lower tiers, sometimes bottom 3 or even bottom 1 depending on the person. He was just functionally incapable of getting anything done on his own, and his commitment from an active switch and assist calls compared to other characters just made him feel clunky and frankly awful to use compared to the new wave of great support characters, thus ending the reign of Gordeau and Crosstag. Gordeau's existence in Crosstag is a peculiar one. He went from one of the best in the game to almost bottom 3 after one simple patch that absolutely gutted him of so many of the things that made him good to begin with. It's a shame as someone who really likes Gordeau and how his kit functions in Uni 2. But you are still more than capable of using him in a supportive role for many characters, with 5P, Reapers, and 6P still being incredible options, and Command Grab into Active Switch still being as powerful as ever. While he may not be the best option, he's still a tried and true classic, showing that after his fall, the remains still glow in the night. Thanks for watching.